ASMR video. There it happens. My voice recording is so shit. I have to apologize this early as my voice kinda sucks on the video. I can't help it, but it's my first attempt and my second. So yeah, I'll try to be better in the next video. Trouble to sleep. Like I just want to rest up and just like want to listen to some stories or anything. It's called ASMR Creepy Stories. This video is inspired by and credits to Moonlight Tingles. She's the one that inspired me to make this video, as I, I wasn't interested in creepy stories or haunted stories, but yeah, this type of ASMR video kind of gave me tingles at time, just like your title name, like tingles, 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 tingles. So yeah, please watch her channel, guys. She's a great ASMR artist, and yeah, please watch her, guys. She's one of my favorite ASMR artists. So the story that I'll be checking is on from Reddit, which the title is Creepy Stories, and the first story I'm going to read is called The Between. The Between, 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 Between. So, you're on late night, stroll the city, you can feel the cold air breezing on you. Take a deep breath, enjoy the calm night. You look at your watch, it's past midnight. You think to yourself, I've walked long enough, it's time to go home. You turn around and start walking back to your home, your humble abode. But then you notice something. All of the building's lights are off, except for the buildings behind you. How odd. Just a second ago the whole block was bright. However, you shrug it off, thinking that the block had a blackout. Continuing on your walk, notice there's not a single person in sight. There's only the dim street lights to accompany you. It's awfully quiet. You can only hear your footsteps echoing through the streets. Scary, guys. Quite scary. After walking for what felt like hours, you realize that the buildings around you are still dark. Look at your watch and look at the time, 12:10 p.m. It's already been 5 minutes and they still haven't fixed it yet. Wait, only 5 minutes have passed. You were walking for at least 10 minutes. Maybe you just lost track of time. You walk and walk and walk, but you don't see your house anywhere. Plus, you haven't seen a single person. You're starting to get tired of this. You stop and look behind you. The streets are still dark. How long is it gonna take them to fix the damn blackout? You flick your wrist and look at your watch, but it's gone. How did you lose your watch? Did the strap snap? You know your watch is a bit old, but you know it's not just gonna snap like that. You look behind you to look for your watch. Nothing. Just the dark buildings and dim street lights. What a shame. never got gifts from my grandparents. Something like a watch. Must be precious though. Precious. Look at one of the apartments. The lights aren't on as usual. You decided to spend your night at somebody's house. Our friends would be good. Unfortunately, you don't have any friends. You walk up to one of those doors and knock on it, no response. You peek through the windows, but you can't see nothing. It's way too dark. You've knocked every door and you could find not a single response. You look at your watch, right? It's gone. Then it hits you, your coat is gone. At this point, you're convinced that what's happening right now is the supernatural. Supernatural. Some back rooms type of shit. You walk up to the window, clenching your fist. You can't take any of this bullshit anymore. Never-ending streets, dim street lights, your things disappearing. You just can't. You pull your fist back and punch the window in front of your bare hand. It smashes into pieces, and suddenly you find yourself back where you've started. But this time, the lights are on, and finally, there's people walking on the sidewalks. Was it all just a dream? But it felt so real. Look at your long coat and watch, they're both gone. It wasn't a dream, it wasn't hella real. However, it still begs the question, is it over? You take a deep breath and take a step forward. Suddenly, the lights go off as the sound of the city fade away. It's really mind-bending though. Yeah, it's kind of okay. It's called The Between. Let's go to the next story, guys. Sorry, the slight noise in the background though. My sister is kind of loud. Yeah. Hope you guys are complained. I'll try to control the volume on the editing later. This is another story, guys, posted by Eurocious 5 days ago. An email from Mazer Inc. The job was too good to be true, and now I understand why. The message had popped up in my inbox like 1,000 before it sat nestled between a pie, Viagra Online, and a congratulations, you just win a free iPad. But as I hovered my mouse over it, I found myself intrigued by the tagline. I could usually spot spam messages, even the ones my inbox seemed incapable of catching. This one, though, something about it caught my eye. The spelling and the grammar were on point, and something about it just screamed attention. I moved my cursor off the box and hovered it over the email, preparing to break the cardinal rule as I read the title one more time. Mazer Inc. seeking subjects for at-home testing. Home testing. This must be some kind of experiment. Human beings, probably. I clicked it, and a very official-looking email informed me that I had been randomly selected to be part of a clinical trial. The email detailed the parameters for this test. basically to A. Take the required supplement they send me at breakfast and dinner. B. Sign on and watch a series of videos every day for 2 hours. They would involve color patterns, pictographs, and several other general standards for mental testing. And C. To wear a required Mazer ink monitor device while I slept, so they could monitor my brain and activity and the effects of the supplement. Ooh. It's quite spooky, guys. Sci-fi shit here. Probably you guys gonna turn into a zombie. Not sure. But the price they were quoting, it sounded like a pretty good job. I've been a fool not to look into it. I looked the company up online first. It's pretty easy to see which companies are scams these days, which are legit. Yeah, there are a whole lot of scams there out, guys. Watch out for scams. Scams. I have one friend that literally hits scammers. So, yeah, watch out for scammer, guys. Mazer Inc. was a publicly traded company and they did a lot in the business of pharmaceuticals and healthcare. I hope I pronounced that correctly. They had a few scripts in the news about questionable business practices, but who didn't these days? At the end of the day, they looked on the level, so I applied to their email, thinking I'd never hear back from them again. The return email came a few hours later, thanking me for agreeing to the trial and saying they would ship out my initial package and my initial payment that same day. 3 days later, there was a brown cardboard box on my front doorstep with the Mazer Inc. logo stamped prominently across the side of the box. I hadn't expected it so soon, but the extra money was a nice bonus. Bonus. Most of my work has been from home these days, and the little bit of it I was getting was barely keeping the lights on and the rent paid. COVID was still making working in an office difficult in these troubled times. Every little bit helped. I opened the box and found 8 bottles of something called Neuroboost. They came in standard 120 capsule bottles and looked perfectly normal, like something you'd buy at a CVS. The monitor turned out to be something similar to an Apple Watch. It had a shiny black band and smart little face that displayed heart rate, blood pressure, and other general health statistics. I slipped on but was confused when I didn't see anywhere to charge it. I shrugged, figuring maybe the internal batteries would last a while. There was also a check stapled set of instructions telling me how to get onto the Mazer Inc. website so that I could take my daily mandatory testing. Wow, Mazer Inc. must be such a procedural company. Quite scary though, having all those instructions on people who are strangers online. Probably they have tested more than just one person. Imagine a company like this probably tested like 200 people. it seemed like a pretty sweet deal if all I had to do was wear a watch, take home bills, and watch the movies for 2 hours a day. When I got up the next morning, there was a bright display on the front of the watch reminding me to take my pill and do my training. So I got up and made my breakfast, took my pills, and got ready for my day. The pills were oily, gave me some fairly rancid burps. Ew. They weren't too bad, but when my watch reminded me at noon that I needed to take my training for the day, I sat down at my computer and got to it. The videos were mostly a series of color patterns flashing in quick succession, as well as a series of brain games that had me doing math or solving puzzles. I guess the pills were supposed to boost my cognitive function, and I wanted to see if it affected my scores on the games as badly as the text did. If it did, I couldn't tell, and after 2 hours I closed it up and opened my work folder to see if there was anything new from the office. The first couple of weeks, everything was fine. I took my pills twice a day, did my mandatory testing, and wore my armband religiously. I found that I liked having it on after a while. It was very comfortable, and being able to glance down and look at your vitals was kind of nice. I've never had the money for fancy tech, so having something that sort of looks fancy was nice. At the time, I would have told you everything was fine for about the first 2 weeks. But after these, I began to notice some strange things around my apartment. It was subtle things at first. Things moved, items missing, only to reappear a few days later. But it was something more subtle than that as well. Sometimes it felt like someone else had been in my house, but that was crazy. The chain was always on, the door was always locked, and at least, to my knowledge, I was the only one that had been in my house since about a week before quarantine. Oh, this guy has been quite religiously on his procedures. I thought at the time it was just me being neurotic, but now that I look back on it, I'm pretty sure there was more to it than I was picking up on. The first real sign came to me while I was watching the color patterns. I had been taking the pills for about 2 weeks, when one day I watched the colors go from a quick flash of greens and blues and yellows. I saw a picture. It was just for a second. Nothing really substantial, but it looked like a street. It wasn't a street that I knew, and it looked as though it had been torn up by something. I didn't get a good look at it. It only flashed by for a few seconds, but I had to double take to see if I had actually seen what I'd seen. I kept a closer eye on them from then on, but I didn't see any more that day. The program moved on to math problems after a few more seconds. I never quite forgot about that picture for the rest of the day. That's probably why I remembered it later. It was scrolling through Facebook later, just kind of checking it over without meaning anything, when a friend's post jumped out ex-military, and he was talking about an attack in Kabul that day. It's Kabul too. Talking about how the military needed to do more, or something that when that same street appeared in his picture, it had been the site of a bombing, and the street was destroyed. Just as I'd seen earlier, I sat dry-mouthed for a moment, just mulling it over in my head. The longer I did, the more I became able to make excuses for it. It was very strange, but eventually chalked it up to similarities. I hadn't actually seen that particular street. I was just seeing it now and associating it with what I had seen earlier. There was no way that I'd seen the site of an attack before it even happened. It just wasn't the sort of thing that normal people did. I turned my phone off and rolled over going to sleep as I told myself it would never come up again. I found the next day. However, I woke up and found that my shoes were missing. It wasn't like they were expensive, just a pair of Walmart New Balances, but it was the fact that they were missing that confused me. I had set them beside the door for 4 days ago when I had last left the house. There was no reason in the world that they should be gone, but they were gone. I could still see the mud from the running track on the carpet by the door. The only proof they had been there at all, I searched the house, thinking maybe I just put them down somewhere and forgot about it, but they were nowhere to be found. That made me worried, but again, I put it out of my mind. I was just going stir crazy from the quarantine. That was all. I just needed to get out more. That was all. I'd been taking the pills for about a month when I started seeing more pictures. It happened suddenly. One minute I was seeing reds and yellows and blues and purples go by, and the next second they were solidifying into a picture. A Walmart somewhere, a jeep out in the desert, a shoe left on a beach, a bunch of sunflowers, on and on and on. The colors were gone. I never saw them again. From then on it was just a random pictures. I called the number on the back of the ball after reading it over to see if there was any side effects. After finding the helpline, the one that says to call if you have any adverse reactions. I waited for the robot calls to cease and for a person to pick up. To my surprise, someone picked up right away, and I was spared the indignity of wading through the muck. The lady in the customer service listened to what I had to say and took down my employee ID and told me that this was completely normal. She told me that lots of people reported the colors becoming pictures. It was actually common, very common to get these sort of calls. She said that if it became anything worrisome to let them know. By that seeing the pictures was a completely natural occurrence, I hung up, feeling a lot better. I kept feeling better until that night, until I woke up in the middle of my living room, idea how I had gotten there. I had my hand wrapped around the doorknob, and I was fully dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. I was wearing a pair of black boots that I didn't recognize, and I had my car keys in my other hand. I had clearly been going somewhere, but I had no memory of deciding to leave. I had been getting ready for bed. The last I remembered, easing under the covers as I got ready to snug down for the evening. I remembered falling asleep, though I clearly didn't remember waking back up. I set up the rest of the night a cup of coffee at hand to make sure that I didn't try to slip off and sleepwalk somewhere. I had never had a history of sleepwalking, but I've heard a lot of people that picked it up later in life. Sleep dressing yourself and sleep driving were something I had never heard of, but I suppose anything was possible. That day I went out and bought a stopper to put under the door. I bought a flipper lock and installed it myself. I would have put a second deadbolt on as well if I wasn't renting the apartment. I thought if I made it more difficult for myself to leave, I might not sleepwalk outside. If I wanted to blunder around my apartment, that was one thing. Going about it with no memory of the outside was another. Especially if I had been intending to drive. I had been taking the pills for about 2 months at that point, but I never equated them to what was going on. I think maybe I didn't want to. I liked the way they made me feel, and I especially liked the extra money I was getting every month for taking them. Some of the pictures I have been seeing came up again. Oh, sorry guys, I'm gonna just stand up with the mic. That's the mic. Extra money. I have been taking pills for about 2 months at that point, but I never equated them to what was going on. I think maybe I didn't want to. I like the way they made me feel, and I especially like the extra money I was getting every month for taking them. Some of the pictures I have been seeing came up again. The shoe on the beach had turned out to be the title card from a plane crash in Spain. The Walmart had been celebrating its 20-year anniversary when someone had driven a car through the festivities. I had stopped really looking for them anymore. I didn't want to know what they were. I had my own problems to worry about. I had woken up several times since the first night, standing in different rooms, having no clue how long I'd been there. I awoke in the kitchen, toast burning. In the toaster, I shook awake in the shower, fully clothed as the water fell over me. I came to on the door of my living room with my legs under the couch, and several times I awoke to find myself fumbling at the locks on my apartment door. Whatever was happening to me, my body seemed to be trying to keep me from hurting myself, and for that I'm grateful. I think that my body knew the pills were doing something strange to me, but my brain was trying its best to justify the actions. It seemed like my brain might be keeping secrets from the rest of us, secrets that I would find out pretty soon. Then one day I woke up somewhere different. I woke up standing in a factory preparing to break a tank full of cloudy water with a fire axe. I dropped the axe I had been preparing to shatter the glass, with a look around in confusion. Where the hell was I? How had I gotten here? I looked around and could see other people causing the general destruction as well, but they didn't seem to have come out as I had. They were destroying lab equipment, factory equipment, and anything else I could get hands on. They were like a group of mindless ants swarming over things they would destroy themselves and wrecking them with sheer numbers. I didn't understand what was going on, but I knew that I had to get the hell out of here. No one came to stop me as I ran, so I took off and didn't stop running till I was outside. Turned out I was somewhere I knew. I had been inside the Denvis chemical building. I had seen the building many times from the freeway, but I had never actually been inside it. I had a vague idea of what they did. Medical research or chemical trials or something, but I couldn't have told you why I had been there, destroying things. I started moving, making my way towards the freeway. And when I got there, I managed to thumb a ride and get back in the general vicinity of my apartment. It was the middle of the night when I got out of the building, and the sun was just starting to come up when I got home. For the next 3 days, I stayed inside, strapped myself to the bed every night. So I stopped taking pills and I stopped logging onto the website for my daily training. It appeared that I might have lost my monitor while I was busily destroying the chemical facility, but I was honestly glad to have it off me. My phone rang a few times from unlisted numbers, but I never picked them up. I was done taking their drugs, and being their guinea pig. If that's all I was. On the third day, someone knocked on the door. After a few minutes of peeking through the peephole, I opened it slowly and glanced mildly through the crack. My monitor was on the front mat, sitting like a bomb on the rough fibers. On top was a note, and my name was written on the back of a folded Polaroid. I reached for it, not wanting it, but needing to see it. The picture was no grainy Polaroid, but a highly detailed photo of me as I smashed a tank of cloudy liquid with the axe I had swung that night. Whoa. On the picture was a little caption that read, "Can you see any colors in this picture? Take your pills, do your training, put your monitor, and get back to work. Lest we send this picture to the police and let them know what you have been up to on your nightly excursions." Whoa. How about that, guys? Crazy. Yeah, you would tell in the first place that this scientific experiment was already fucked up. Yeah. But yeah, poor guy, now he's like strapped in the middle of it. Just wanted some money. Yeah. Screw the company. I'm trying to find some small stories. This one was a bit too long. But this one. monster cock. I'm gonna read this story. It's posted by Bloody Spaghetti 6 days ago. I enjoy. The name of the story is a monster cock. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the first story that I read. The person who posted. But yeah, I'll share the link of the creepy stories link in the description. I enjoy taking nightly hikes through the concrete jungle of my city. There's a certain magic to the setting of black and gray goldstone architecture. It might not be the slightest thing around, but it's charming its way if you've lived in it long enough. In any case, I tend to just aimlessly wander around town at night through the streets and the alleys, just digesting the day or something. Oh, this guy must be quite a rough guy. My mindlessness had gotten me into trouble more than once. To be entirely honest, I accidentally crushed a few drug deals and nearly paid the price. Luckily, I have my way with words, so these occasions worked out fine for me. Sometimes a homeless person or some drug addict would follow me around for a bit until I lose them. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. We've got everything you want, honey. We know the names. We are the people that can find whatever you may need if you got the money. Honey, we got your disease. Rings true in the city. Usually, I get a rush of adrenaline from these encounters. Yesterday, I nearly had a heart attack. It all started when I felt something following me. I've developed this sort of sense of telling when I'm being followed. Maybe it's some paranoid thing. I don't know. Either way, it's so useful. So I was walking around in the dark, strutting down Main Street Avenue when I felt something behind me. I looked back, but there was nothing there. I kept on walking, but the feeling persisted. Every time I looked over my shoulder, there was nobody behind me or anywhere near me. I heard something that sounded like teeth chattering, but louder. The strange sound made the hairs on my neck stand up. I had never heard anything like this before. I immediately turned around. I saw nothing but a long, lanky, two-legged shadow slipping into the darkness. My body tensed. This was a large person following me, probably 7 feet tall. Whoever this was, their body was rock solid with a title, maniacal posture. Then I heard that awful sound again, and my fight or flight instinct kicked in. First time I've had such a reaction to a fading shadow, but it was too late to think. The animal part of my brain already commanded my legs to run for my life. I sprinted out of there, but no matter how far or how fast I ran, every time I looked back, the shaft-shaped shadow was right there, right behind me. A few moments after the initial encounter, I was having a full-blown anxiety attack, running like a gazelle in strange patterns across the concrete jungle, in a pitiful attempt to outrun the extravagantly swollen two-legged shadow that was always there, right behind me, ready to bounce and take me down to the ground. Yet no matter how fast or how far I ran, I couldn't escape its growing presence. No matter where I went or what I did, it was right there, still shaking, always stalking. was so confused on running from that thing that I nearly got run over by a passing car. The flashing headlights burned my retinas momentarily, blinding me. I heard the sound of an engine roaring and tires squalling as the driver swerved his car into the night. Blinded, scared, and on the verge of a heart attack, I moved on autopilot and ended up stumbling all over my feet, landing face first on the cool concrete of a dark alley. My body nearly flipped over because of the sudden impact. Sharp pain assaulted my head and neck as I squirmed on the ground, hoping nothing was broken. I nearly forgot about the maniac following me around until I heard that god-awful chatter again. My heartbeat skyrocketed as I turned over and saw that massive thing, that massive bipedal cock, fully erect on its two legs, standing over me, towering over me, quite literally. Trust me when I say it was a monstrous cock. I've seen my fair share of giant cocks. I grew up on a farm. How does a farm have that kind of things? It's weird. I don't know, maybe how are American farms exposed to these kind of things? I crawled back. So, anyway, I crawled backward slightly, but the falling form of the massive monstrosity simply drew nearer. The pain was momentarily gone, but the blood-freezing fear took its place. The cock made these disgusting gurgling sounds as its entire form shook and pulsated above me. A million thoughts raced through my mind. I closed my eyes, fearing for the worst as the gargantuan cock opened its beak and its throat shook and rocked right above my face. I'll never forget how its black feathers, and its all flailed around like a set of testicles swaying during a jog. I heard something fall next to me with a soft thumping sound, then dead silence. It took me a few moments to muster the courage to open my eyes, but when I did, I was finally alone. My wallet lay beside me, covered in mutant-eating phlegm. The giant monster of a cock followed me all around town, nearly scaring me to death to return my wallet to me. Damn. Actually, it was just a nice cock. Yeah, it is what it is. So guys, this might be the end of my first ASMR creepy stories. Credits inspired by Moonlight Tingles. Tingles, tingles, tingles. I'm a big fan of hers. Hopefully she watched this. Please. So, yeah. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hopefully I'll post another video. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get the names of them. I try to search some names or the posts of those stories and put it in the description box. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Good night to where you guys are staying. Have a nice day. Yeah, my visit's night, so good night you guys. Good night. Don't let the bed bugs